Playing consistent tennis is one of the hardest things to do. Our concept of zero is going to enable you to get consistent spacing, consistent shots, and win more matches.
If there is no zero, there is no point.
Every shot in tennis starts from the same place.
Yes, we call it zero. You may have heard it referred to as a contact point or a hit zone, something like that, but here at PH Tennis we use the word zero.
And this is where your racket meets the ball, and it is the beginning of all shots, and it now allows you to choose whichever shot you'd like.
Yes, we are using it as a placeholder, a comma, a bookmark. So when you're moving to the ball, you're going to get your racket to that position, and then you're going to start and finish the shot there.
In this video, we're going to take you through a beginner, intermediate and advanced level of zero. So as you master one, you can move on and keep practicing and elevate your game as you go. It should lead to more consistency, better spacing and better shots. What is position zero? In a nutshell, in its core concept, it is when you have got your racket, your strings, behind the line of the incoming ball and your feet have stopped.
Yes, imagine you are watching pro tennis on TV and you see that Hawkeye. When they're doing a line call, you see that Hawkeye and they have the ball transposed and you can see where it's going. What we are trying to do is intersect that line before the ball arrives.
Yeah, and we're lining up our strings so we get the exact right distance. We stop our feet and we know we've got it right because if we didn't move, the ball would bounce straight back off.
Yes, but because we are trying to play more variation than just bumping or nudging the ball back over the net, we are going to start from zero and we are going to move the racket back and away. The key bit here though is that zero sort of hangs in the air like a bookmark, almost a comma in the middle of the sentence, because that is where we are going to go back to play the shot.
So the first level of zero is getting your racket to where the ball would bounce off it.
Yes, we are not talking about big long swings or anything like that. We're trying to make tennis as easy as possible. And we know that if your racket is lined up behind the ball, where the ball is going to be when it gets to you, then you're going to be very, very hard pressed to make a mistake.
Yeah, all you've got to do is racket behind the ball, open the angle, little shove, little push, and the ball will go back. Easy, you can't miss. Once you have mastered that beginning level where you get your racket behind the ball as if it was going to bounce off, it's time for you to take that to the next level.
Yes, and we need to make sure that we have created and generated enough space between us and the ball. Really common mistake, isn't it? People getting too close, running up to the ball, getting their body and their belly in the way.
So one of the biggest challenges is having consistent spacing between you and the ball, and that's where you get different quality of shots. You can be really tucked up, you can be too far away, and having a consistent zero and a position zero enables you to find that distance consistently. To help you have this consistent distance, it's all about your non-dominant hand. So as a right-hander, your left hand, you're left-handed, it'd be your right hand then.
Yes, and what we are trying to do is we are pushing the racket away and essentially turning using both hands, keeping the left hand, I'm a right-handed player, keeping the left hand on the racket and reaching it out to make sure we're moving with that space already created.
And do you know why the left arm is so important, Ben?
I'm sure you're about to tell me.
It's because it doesn't change length. So it's always the same. If you have your left arm on the same bit of the racket and you always have it straight, it will always be the same distance. As soon as you've got any flexion in that arm, you get how much flexion do I need? So you want to have it straight, have it in the same place, then you'll always travel with your racket the same distance away, so when you stop and get to zero, you will always be ready to play a repeatable shot.
Yes, when you get to zero, you should always be in the same position, right hand and left.
So quite often if you're at your local tennis club and you look out, you'll see lots of players playing, and if you look at their left arms in particular, you'll see a lot kind of down by the side, you'll see a lot sticking out in front, but if you watch the pros, they're going to be across their body, on their rackets, getting that distance over and over and over and over and over again.
Yes, so even if this doesn't win you any more points, even if your consistency doesn't go up, you're going to look like you know what you're doing, and that could be just as important sometimes.
When you have got your racket out behind the ball and your left arm straight so it's a consistent distance, it tells you when to stop. And for those of you that have seen our move, stop, play video around efficient movement on the tennis court, this is going to really help elevate that stop in particular. You can check that video out here. If we're taking zero as a concept to the advanced level, we've got our racket behind the ball, we've got it at consistent space. How do we make it even better?
Well, I'm going to jump on that word behind that you just said. Now, where is behind a tennis ball? We talked about the line, and that is in terms of our lateral horizontal movement. But a tennis ball moves in 4 dimensions. So we have to,
What about the 5th?
There is no 5th dimension. Oh, that's the machine overlords. Everything exists outside of us. No, carry on. Right, so tennis ball moves in obviously far more than just a lateral plane. We have height, we have depth, we also have time, and we are actually predicting the future. The one thing we can be sure of is that the ball at some point is going to start dropping.
Yeah, so obviously when a tennis ball comes over the net, it bounces, it rises, it levels off, and then it falls away again. And we know this is going to happen.
Yes, and it is which point of that trajectory arc we are actually going to play the ball on is going to determine where 0 is.
So if the ball is going to be still coming up as it comes to us, our 0 is going to be above the height of the ball currently, still behind the line, so we've still got that intermediate element of it, but higher. Yes. Equally, if it was level, you'd be just straight behind it. So the intermediate is almost like you are imagining every ball's going to be level. You're not taking into account the fact it rises and falls.
Yes. So this is a hugely difficult thing to do. Essentially, it's predicting the future and starting to build this habit of looking at the ball just at a slightly more advanced level. You're trying to really delve into the incoming characteristics and making sure that you're not just getting roughly in line. 0 isn't like get roughly where you think it might be and hope for the best. 0 is getting exactly in line with the ball, exactly behind. So if that ball is going to be falling, your racket is below. If it is going to be rising, your racket will be above. And as Josh said, if it is level, you'll be straight behind.
And if we were to again link it to our move, stop, play, our movement video, this is going to determine the type of player at an advanced level, what you're going to do based on where 0 is and whether it's above, behind or below the ball as it comes over to you.
Yeah. At PH Tennis, we suggest that players experiment with this and sort of develop an adaptable, versatile game where you build all these sort of shots in and you get very good at reading the incoming ball and predicting the future trajectory. Now, if you happen to be at the Rafa Nadal Academy, they have a slightly different approach. Now, because this is difficult and because it is complicated, what they do there is wait for the ball to drop every single time. Why does this make things easier?
Well, because it means you've taken away 2 of the potential options. If you drop back in the court, you think Nadal when he first came onto the scene, but all the time at Roland Garros, sit miles back. The ball, as we said, always is going to come down. So you find your 0 by getting out behind it, and then you drop because you know it's going to be coming down. So you're always going to be below it. You're always going to be lined up, and then you play from there. What a surprise with a huge ripping topspin.
Yes, so if you're an advanced player, you've got a couple of choices. You can get up onto the baseline and you can practice being more versatile with your 0, or you can narrow down your potential number of options, change your court location and start to build a more consistent, repetitive game.
0 is a super important concept that enables you to get in the right position, the same position in a repeatable way, building your efficiency and consistency on the court.
Yeah, and if you're having a bad day, whether you're a top player or an absolute beginner, if you're not doing this, that's probably the reason. So if in doubt, get back to 0, narrow your focus. If your racket is behind the ball, you are going to make far less mistakes than if it is randomly scattered all over the place.
So for those of you that are really in with the PH Tennis, you will know that this is one of our many concepts. So we've already released a video around our movement video, which is all about move, stop, play, and 0 really fits in there in the stop and the play element. We also have coming out very soon our skill gap video, which is more in tune to the types of shot you're going to play and how attacking you're going to be. And again, you'll understand how we use 0 to do this in conjunction with the other concepts. So it all fits in a nice, neat, tidy present of tennis coaching.
Awful last sentence. We have a saying at PH Tennis, which is, if there is no 0, there is no point. Get your racket behind the ball, win more points.
If you enjoyed this video, please comment below, give us a like, share it to your tennis playing fraternity, and we will see you on the next video.
Thank you very much for watching.